martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? We like them in Miami! Woo!
Yes, we do. And Miami has shown out all week. They are excited. They are ready to go. And I think we all are. UFC 299 going down in the 305 tomorrow night. The main event, Chapter 2 in a heated bantamweight rivalry will be written as new champion Sean O'Malley defends his title against Marlon Chito Vera. Co-main event, 5 rounds. And what award is going to be Dustin Poirier, the former interim lightweight champion, taking on the surging Benoit Denis. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, my friends. So many storylines, so much to talk about, so much to get excited for as we welcome you to the UFC 299 preview show here on MMAfighting.com. I am Mike Heck, and what a crew we have. First, Mr. No Gray Area, the hot take kid, the cannonball kid, Mr. Jed Meshew. Jed, how we doing on this Friday?
I'm doing great, Mike. I mean, we've got fights happening right now, so that's fun. This is both a watch party and a preview show. And apparently Drake just is lighting money on fire, so that's great. You know, it's a great start to the Friday.
Drake's lighting money on fire. I don't even know what you're talking about, so you'll have to inform us in a moment. But
he bet $600,000 on Francis Ngannou.
Oh,
I wish I had $500,000 plus to just throw away.
600,000. That's like
Drake.
nothing for him.
Drake, you could just give me that money. That would legitimately change my life instead of just go to itappearssteak.com.
We'll
also,
see how
steak.com. What a bum. Use DraftKings like a grown up.
Yeah, come on now. And also joining us.
He's an investor in stake. Those bets are questionable whether they're real at a certain point.
I mean, questionable whether they're real anyway, because it's stake. What a fake ass company. Fraudsters. Might as well be FanDuel. Might as well just be your friend who's a bookie. Like, grow up, Champagne Poppy. Come on.
Again, it's one of his companies.
Yeah.
Man, we're just starting off.
If I was rich, I'd invest in DraftKings. That's what I'd do personally.
That's a great investment right there. And it's great to invest in New York Rick joining us on a preview show once again. New York Rick, how we doing on this Friday morning?
Doing amazing. Strapping in for a beautiful weekend in the combat sports world, and excited to be with both of you. Actually, all of you. Casey, I will not exclude you from being with you as well. So good to join all of you.
Yes, Casey will appear later on, bringing up your questions. So if you want to join us in chatting, maybe you want to be a super chatter, you can go ahead and get a head start on that, and we'll answer those questions at the very end. Jed?
Is this CJ Vergara missing weight officially? Because I know he's missed on his second attempt.
He missed weight officially.
I mean, it's past the window, so yes.
Okay, he missed weight officially. All right. Yep.
Yeah, we're good. I don't know what's happening here. I'm a little behind here. It's the hotel Wi-Fi, my friends. But let's get into this, Jed. You have the whiteboard, and you've drawn 3 shaded stars. I assume those are the Michelin stars. A 3-star card for UFC 299. Is this the first 3-star card of 2024?
Oh, 2024 for sure. Since the world famous Michelin star system has been put into effect, I believe this is only the second 3-star card that we've ever had. I mean, we will have a third for the next pay-per-view. It will for sure. I might break the system and give it 4, which I don't even know. Like, it might just give 4. And this, like, if we were breaking the system, this could get 3.5 for sure. It's an unbelievable card this weekend. Your mileage may vary on the main event specifically. For me, we talked about this yesterday on BTL. It's not my favorite fight of the weekend by any stretch. It's probably like my 3rd or 4th favorite fight on this card. But that just speaks to the depth and quality of the card. That's not a knock on the main event. The main event is a compelling matchup. Chito doesn't deserve the fight. who cares? The fight itself is going to be fun. And then that fight is very likely to end the evening in a fun way, which is always important for this, because if we had a rocking night of fights and then the main event ends up being some really boring, tepid, 48-47 where 100 total strikes are thrown, aka the Leon Edwards, then everyone will go home pretty sad. But the main event is going to cap off, I mean, a night that looks on paper to be unbelievable. So this is everything good. This is easiest 3 stars. And there's a reason I think everyone is so pumped about what's happening this weekend. We've got Francis Ngannou fighting Anthony Joshua in a few hours. And then that's not even the best thing happening this weekend. We are truly blessed.
Yeah, I think blessed is a great word. Spoiled is another great word, New York Rick. I mean, we're comparing this one to 300, and 300 on paper from start to finish is one of the best cards, if not the best card I think the UFC has put together. I know people were kind of poo-pooing the main event a little bit because we were promised our socks to be blown off, and I think most of our socks are still on, even though the main event is a great fight. But the fact that this card is being compared to 300, there are people who believe this is even better than 300. That just goes to show you how good this card is from start to finish, is it not?
Yeah, I think main card wise, this card's up there with any card, including 300, including any card in UFC or other promotional history. Like, it is top 5. It is hard to top. And then you get into fights on the prelims that are also quite strong. I would probably not be in the 299 better than 300 camp, just on the basis of from fight 1 till the end. I'm probably favoring 300, but main card for main card, yeah, man. 299 is the best of what the UFC can do. This little stretch for the UFC, I dare say, even going back to 298 up to 300 is the best they've done, and they should be applauded for the effort here. In comparison to a lot of these Apex shows that we're getting, this is what the fans desire. This is what the fans want, and they delivered. And they will deliver again for UFC 300. So yes, I am extremely excited for this card.
Main event, gentlemen. Sean O'Malley, Marlon Vera 2. We've been waiting for this one for a while. We all know how their first fight went. Marlon Vera beats Sean O'Malley with leg kicks. O'Malley suffers an injury. Sugar Commission continues to say he's undefeated, but we all know what happened that night. But Marlon Vera, maybe he has Sean O'Malley's number. Maybe Sean O'Malley can exercise the demons, the storylines attached to this short rivalry that has been sort of brewing for a long time. We get to finally see the second chapter of this rivalry. Jed, Sean O'Malley was the second fighter on the scale, 135. I don't know if you watched the weigh-ins. People were starting to get a little concerned about Marlon Vera. He weighed in with about 10 minutes left. Looked a little rough up there. Had the box. Turns out to be the box of redemption. Breathed a huge sigh of relief when it was read at 135. But Marlon usually looks kind of crappy when he steps up to the scale anyways. Do you have any concern? Does this affect the way you view the fight at all, seeing Marlon Vera on the scale? Because that's been a big talking point for the last hour or so.
No, I couldn't care less. It's always better if he shows up and makes it with ease or whatever, but he made the weight. And I'm just go on the tape, man. The issues we've seen from Chito Vera over his career have not been that the weight cut killed him. It's just that sometimes he has demons in his head that make him not fight people. Like, I don't understand when or where those comes, but like the whole Corey Sandhagen fight, like that's the most demonstrable one. But even for large portions of Dominic Cruz and several other fights, like his corner's just like, hey Chito, you gonna start? Hey, you gonna get out there and do something, or are we just here to have a leisurely stroll in the octagon? That to me is not dictated by the weight, because he has never seemed to have cardio issues. He's never been a dude who's like managing cardio in that way. So he made it. If Sean O'Malley wins tomorrow, it's not because Chito had a tougher than average weight cut. He'll win because he's coming in with a very good game plan, and or because Chito does not fight to the best of his abilities. It won't be because the scale was tougher than maybe normal.
Nurgrik, a lot to dissect with this fight in particular because of how the first one went, the roads both guys have taken to get to this point. Sean O'Malley going through Petr Yan and some of the big wins he had along the way, knocking out Aljamain Sterling to win the belt. And then, as Jed said, a lot of people feel like meritocracy wise, Marlon Vera probably doesn't quote unquote deserve this opportunity, but that really doesn't matter when the UFC is trying to put butts in seats and get pay-per-view buys in their accounts. So what's the biggest question you have about this fight? Because both guys clearly are not the same fighters they were when they first fought. Both guys have improved. Both guys have changed their games in a lot of ways. Sean O'Malley has improved dramatically since that first fight. What's the biggest question you have about this one as they get ready to battle for the bantamweight title?
Yeah, which Chito Vera are we going to see? Is he going to be heavy on the leg kicks? Is he going to be trying to kind of replicate the success of the first fight that he had? Is he going to be more patient, as he's kind of shown in recent fights where he's sitting back and waiting for those bigger opportunities and capitalizing on them quite successfully? I'm more sure of what I expect to see from Sean O'Malley. He kind of just is who he is. He comes in there, he puts a really high volume, high pace on people, touches them with the hands, and eventually they kind of wilt if he doesn't get them out of there with the power first. But with Chito, I'm more intrigued to kind of see which version of him that we see and what the game plan is. If it is to go to the legs, I think we'll really truly find out if this idea that like Sean O'Malley is this twig that can be snapped, that if you chop down the legs, he's just going to fall apart, will kind of be tested. And I'm interested to see if Chito's reliant on that, and also if Sean O'Malley is anticipating that. So it's really more in the strategy and the game plan from Chito Vera. I consider the first fight a win by any measure. I know there are some out there that will think, oh, the fluke, the injury, the blah, blah, blah. But Chito was the one who caused that damage, and very legitimate win. And I'm intrigued in this from a style perspective, regardless of how the first fight went. I think styles make fights. And while this is not a meritocratic, title shot, he did not earn this by going through the toughest fighters to then earn the title shot. Styles make fights, and I don't care about meritocracy in the fight game. Maybe to a certain degree I do, but not when it comes to matchups that I do believe are still competitive and going to be good. And this is one that I believe will still be good. So I'm intrigued by this fight, but I am more intrigued on the side of Chito Vera and seeing which version of him we get.
Jed, what say you? What's the biggest question? Because you've said this before, and I completely agree with you. You can't stop Marlon Vera. You can barely hurt him. The guy has been in fights where he's been punched 300 times, and he looks like he didn't fight anybody at all. It's just unbelievable how you cannot even hurt this man, mark this man up, or actually make him look like he's been in any kind of a fist fight. So Sean O'Malley being able to knock out Marlon Vera is going to be that would be a stunning result because of just how durable Marlon is. And then on the flip side, there's the Sean O'Malley story. Can he go 5 hard rounds? Some people continue to seem to ask that question. I don't think cardio is going to be a huge factor in this fight. I think Sean's going to be okay. I think he's prepared to go 25. I'm sure Marlon is as well. So there's a lot of strategic stuff to look into here, a lot of sort of chess matchy things that can be played into this one, even though I think this is going to be a high volume, fun striking matchup. So with that said, what is the biggest question you have about this fight? And is it on the Vera side or the O'Malley side?
So I do think cardio is going to factor into this fight, not in the way that we typically see it, but in the much more subtle way that cardio affects fights like this. And it ties into my question, which is got two, but the bigger one is, how does Sean O'Malley approach this fight? Because I think that if both guys come in and fight their absolute smartest fights, this fight favors Chito Vera. Just stylistically, what he wants to do, the things he is good at, line up very well against how Sean O'Malley has historically wanted to fight. And for him to fight the smartest fight, buddy, he needs to have been hitting the road hours at a time for every day for the last 4 or 5 months. Because the way he wins this fight is by fighting somewhat like the way he was fighting the first time against Vera, only even more so. He has got to be on his bike constantly. He cannot get walked down and pressured, because in the first couple of rounds, he's faster than Chito. He is longer than Chito. He is cutting better angles than Chito. He is going to hit and not get hit for a lot of that, and it's going to look clean for him. But he is not going to hurt Chito, because you cannot do that. And so the fight is going to turn into something more difficult for him. He is not going to get to coast. And that means he needs to be able to move for 25 minutes. And if watch him fight, he moves a ton. Like when he is out there, he is moving a lot. And that takes energy. That is just hard to do. And Chito is not going to slow down. Chito is going to build because that is what he has historically done. And so the first couple of rounds may go very well for Sean O'Malley, but if he is not super dialed in with his cardio, he's going to start slow in round 3. He's going to have eaten a bunch of leg kicks by round 3. His movement's going to get a little slower. He's going to be standing more in front of Chito, and Chito's going to start to hit him. And I do not believe that Sean O'Malley is like super fragile, but Sean O'Malley can get got, and Chito makes a habit of getting people. So my big question is, how does Sean O'Malley approach this fight? Because I think Chito's going to come in and largely do the same things he always does and hopefully do them more and better because that would behoove him. But if Sean O'Malley comes in and fights the way he always fights, I think that's walking right into the best parts of Chito in a way that's really tough for him. I have comped this fight or this matchup to Conor versus Nate, and I think that that's a pretty good comp, honestly. And the question for me is, does this look like the first one where Conor tried to blow Nate out of the water, couldn't do it, and he was dead? Or does this look like the second one where Conor still had to survive some really tough moments, but he fought really smart, fought pretty against type for how Conor wants to fight, and managed to eke out a decision? Because I think that's how Sean has to win this fight. Unless, of course, Chito just doesn't fight, because sometimes Chito does that.
I'll ask you this, New York Rick, and then Jed, you could chime in as well. You make great points, Jed. So New York Rick, what is the more likely scenario? Marlon Vera comes out a little quicker in this fight, or Sean O'Malley starts a little slower in this fight to try to pace himself? Do you see anything changing? And if so, which factor do you think changes? Do you think Vera comes out and just comes out guns blazing a little bit more, or O'Malley's a little more relaxed and picks things up as the fight goes on to try to match Chito?
Is it lame and Fence City if I think that we might get both? That I think we might see a Sean O'Malley who's not trying to get Chito out of there early because he knows that's not really a viable option. Like Chito is not the guy who's going to go down quickly. And also that Marlon realizes that maybe there will be a point early on where he needs to put the pressure on O'Malley and not kind of wait on that shot. Because I do think there's a world where he could be waiting too long and all of a sudden it's round 4 and O'Malley's won 4 rounds just on volume and that shot is not coming and he needs to do something differently. So I wouldn't be surprised to see both. I wouldn't be surprised if Marlon is pressuring him more aggressive in the early parts of the fight and not necessarily sitting back and waiting like we saw in some of his past performances. And I wouldn't be surprised at the same time if O'Malley is pacing himself more. But I do think, expectation would be that Sean O'Malley is going to be able to pick up those early rounds if it plays out the way that they've fought previously. So, I would say both of those things, or at least that's what I would hope to see if they've learned the lessons that I believe they need to learn. So, yeah, that's what I would hope.
Jed, do you think lessons have been learned, or do you think it's going to be sort of the same strategies from both guys?
I think lessons going to be learned. I think Sean O'Malley is not dumb and it would be very shocking to me if he honestly thinks he can knock out Chito early. And similarly, I think Chito knows, and his team certainly knows, that he is a slow starter. And we saw him do a little bit better against Pedro Munoz in that regard. Like they have clearly placed a primacy on doing better in that. It would help him a ton if he comes out here early. I'm choosing to live in the good world where both dudes approach this in my view, the smartest possible way. What do I know? I don't know shit. And we end up getting a really, really fun tactical battle of two very interesting competing styles. So I'll say they have both learned.
Very fascinated by this. Merab Dvalishvili weighed in as the backup. I assume he's going to get the winner. It's going to be interesting to see if Sean O'Malley wins, if he does call for Merab, or if he goes for Poirier or somebody else. I think he will ultimately end up with Merab, but that fight fascinates me as well. But that's then. Let's go to tomorrow. Right now, our friends at DraftKings, that's right, go to DraftKings Sportsbook, use the code TheMA get yourself a little deal on this one. Sean O'Malley, big favorite, minus 265, the comeback on the challenger. Marlon Vera, plus 215. New York Rick, what is your pick? Do you have any bets on this fight? What's going to happen tomorrow night, in your opinion?
I do not. My non-betting pick is Sean O'Malley. I think ultimately Sean O'Malley is going to win a decision, but I don't like the number that he's at. It's probably a dog or pass situation. So I would, if I'm looking at the money line, it would probably be Chito that I'd play. But this is one that I'd probably stay away from. I don't really like the numbers anywhere. But I definitely favor O'Malley if you're giving me a coin flip, but at the price that it's currently at, I think Chito's a little better than the betting line is giving him credit for.
Jed, your pick, and I assume you're on Marlon Vera in some capacity here.
I am. I don't feel like super confident, but I certainly feel it's the best bet. And so I'm backing that. If Chito fights smart and Chito fights, like Chito doesn't come in and head case, not do anything for the first 10 minutes of the fight, he should win. Like this should line up very well for him, even against what Sean O'Malley is doing. And I think I have a healthy respect for Sean O'Malley's abilities. Just Chito is invulnerable and Sean is not, and it's really simplistic, but that's it. Like at some point they're going to start exchanging, and if one dude can get hurt and the other dude can't, that is a massive advantage in the favor of the dude who can't get hurt. I expect Chito to leg kick a ton and slow O'Malley down. And as the fight wears on, like I said, I think O'Malley will have a good first opening couple of rounds. He's going to get slower. He's going to get a little more stationary. He's going to be there to be hit, and you don't want to be there to be hit by Chito. So it's going to be a classic Chito loses early but wins the fight performance. I have him by 4th round knockout.
Oh, all right. A finish. So this is really close to call. I think if I have to choose like a side from a betting perspective, I'm probably looking at Marlon Vera for the value. I'm going to play a little bit safer on this because I do think Sean O'Malley is going to win this fight. I think he's going to win the decision here, but I do think this fight is super close. I can see a world where we take a little bit of a trip to Splitty City because of how these two guys fight. It's going to be volume versus the thump of Marlon Vera. So I could see a world where maybe he takes a round that some people scored for Sean, or and vice versa. So I'm picking Sean O'Malley by decision, but the bet that I have made, I do have over 1.5 as a parlay piece, but the bet I have made on this fight is I am taking the point spread. Marlon Vera plus 5.5 points at minus 105. So kind of hedges me in some respects where I'm not betting the big juice on Sean O'Malley, but I am taking Marlon Vera to at least be competitive enough to get that sort of point spread in play. So that's my bet, plus 5.5 points for Marlon Vera. So even if he loses, but it's super close, I still win. So I think that's the best way to go, at least in my eyes. But I suck at all this, so tail me, fade me, whatever you want to do. It's all good. Jed, is that a good bet? Do you like that bet? Or am I?
Yeah, it's a good bet. I mean, well, I think Cheeto's winning, so I think it's a good bet.
Okay. So, and if he wins, then I'm good. So I'm hedging in so many different directions.
If he wins, he's good. If he just takes a couple of rounds late, which I think is very possible, because that's the other thing too. Like we haven't seen Sean hit like that much. And so that's interesting because this could be a fight where Sean wins the first 2 rounds. Chito does start landing the big shots. And then it's a question of, are those big shots enough to outpace on the judges' scorecards Sean's work? They were against Rob Font, but maybe Sean eats them and he eats them better than he ate the elbow on the ground the first time they fought or whatever. Like I said, like I am backing Chito both monetarily because I think that's where the value is. I will not be at all surprised if Sean comes out and wins. And if he does, I will be super impressed because I think the way he has to win is by showing a level of the game that not many fighters show. Like very few fighters can fight against their base instincts for 25 minutes because it's in service of the larger mission. And so if Sean can do that, I'll be super impressed by it.
That's the main event, but God, I can't wait for the co-main event. One of the best fights on the books, if not the best fight on the books so far, at least probably heading into UFC 300. Dustin Poirier, former interim lightweight champion, looking to bounce back from his BMF title knockout loss to Justin Gaethje, and he's fighting Benoit Saint-Denis. And we reacted to this matchmaking. We didn't think this fight would ever get put together, but Dustin Poirier stepping up to the plate, seeing opportunities, seeing timing to put himself in a position to possibly fight for a title one more time before he calls it a career. And Benoit Saint-Denis has just been a friggin' wrecking ball. So New York Rick, on BTL, I asked AK and Jed to describe this fight using one word and then show your answer. So how would you describe Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis? What's the one word you would use, and then show your work?
The first thing that came to mind is the hat that Dustin Poirier wears for fight weeks, and it's just war. Like, that's the word. It's going to be war. It is going to be in the trenches. It is going to be violent, and ultimately, I think we'll see a finish from it. So, yeah, war is the word.
War is the word. Jed, this just scratches your right where it itches, does it not? This is the fight. This is the one.
This is it, man. Like, this is 1A to the Holloway Gaethje 1B for presumptive fight of the year contender. This fight is awesome. The more I dug into it, the more I'm excited about this fight. I got a million questions about this fight because Benoit Saint-Denis hadn't been doing this that long. This is like, I think this is his 5th year in MMA. And like, look where he's at. Look what he has done. By that same token, though, he is very raw in a ton of respects. Man has minimal to no defense, makes constant errors during his fights, but he's a super athlete and has 0 Fs to give. And that has made him incredibly exciting, super fun. And on the other side of it, he's Poirier. Like, he's got one of the greatest resumes you could ever have. Like, any fighter out there right now would kill to have Poirier's resume. Be like, yeah, that's the resume I'm going to have at the end of my career. Deal. Like, certified Hall of Famer, certified G, 35. Been in a lot of wars, a lot of road on them tires. Like, how much does he have left? He's coming off a pretty nasty knockout loss to Justin Gaethje. Like, where does he stand? Is his savvy enough to get him through this kind of very raw prospect who's a super athlete? I don't know, but I do know that this is going to be anarchy. It's going to be amazing. And this is the fight of the weekend, frankly, if not like the fight of the entire year at this point in time.
New York Rick, lightweight division, kind of a mystery right now because we don't know when Islam Makhachev is going to defend his title again. We thought him and Justin Gaethje was kind of a no-brainer after Gaethje won the BMF title. We obviously what happened with Volkanovski and all that. We thought Gaethje would kind of be the next guy after Makhachev knocked out Volk. Turns out he's fighting Max Holloway now. And then we have Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. On the same card, we have Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos. And then there's this fight, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. How much do you feel this fight could factor into the decision-making on who could be next for Islam Makhachev? Because while there are fights with probably higher stakes from a meritocratic perspective, timing is everything right now in the UFC, and availability is your best friend. So do you feel like the stakes are the same for both guys, or do you feel like a win favors one guy over the other in this discussion?
No, no, I don't feel like the stakes are significantly different for either guy. I think they become the front runner for the next title opportunity. I think because of the timing, as you mentioned, right? Like, let's say Islam Makhachev returns this summer, they've got a month ahead of Gaethje and Holloway as that potential number one contender and to be inserted into a fight with Islam. Whereas the winner of Gaethje and Holloway, the timeline is shortened. So yeah, I think that this is the driver's seat for that next opportunity for the title for both men. So massive stakes here on top of already being an amazing fight from an excitement and technical prowess standpoint. So yeah, this is for everything. This is for all the marbles. And let's say they have a great performance and then Holloway and Gaethje put on one of the all-timers and are banged up. Now you're still in the driver's seat, right? Like, you don't even have to have necessarily the better performance. You have to have the healthier, cleaner performance potentially, but you've also got a whole month of lead time ahead of Gaethje and Holloway. So yeah, this is important. This is really important for the lightweight division.
Jed, do you feel that if Benoit Saint-Denis does to Dustin Poirier what Justin Gaethje did to Dustin Poirier, are we looking at potentially the last time we see Dustin Poirier fight? Do you think that is even in play with this one? He even talked about he's on the tail end, and I feel like he sees at least the door slightly open to get back to a title shot, which is what he wants to do. Seems financially sound. He just is kind of doing this for him. There's one thing he hasn't accomplished in the sport, and that is winning an undisputed title. And he's got an opportunity here. But if this doesn't go well for him, even though he's a big star, there are still big fights for him. But that opportunity, that door probably closes. So what do you think? Do you think this could be the last time we see Dustin Poirier if this does not go well for him? Like it gets real bad and he gets finished in pretty violent fashion?
Nah, he's gonna come back at least one more time. I think Dustin Poirier wants and deserves a opportunity to have his flowers as he is exiting. Not I'm just gonna retire on the seat of my pants. Say, hey man, I have put in the work. This is going to be my final fight, a Robbie Lawler-esque retirement fight. I'm not even sure we would get that, honestly. Like if he comes out here and loses, he may still just keep competing because he's got gas left in the tank, I believe, but he'll just, pick and choose. He doesn't have to compete. He'll wait and find the good ones. Connor's already made motions that he wants a fourth fight. I think Dustin will probably take that for the money, if no other reason. So I think there's very little chance this is the final time we see Dustin Poirier compete, particularly because the things he can win.
Perfect segue, Jed. Right now, our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook has Benoit Saint-Denis as the favorite, minus 218, the comeback on Dustin Poirier, plus 180. Jed, you're picking Dustin Poirier. Explain yourself.
If Dustin Poirier is not diminished, he should win this fight. It should be a great fight, but BSD it's just really early in his career. Like I said, he's only been doing MMA for 4 years. He makes a ton of mistakes in there. His athleticism and his sort of just doggedness gets him through it. But Dustin Poirier he loses to champions. That's it. Like that's the only people Dustin Poirier loses to. And BSD might be one day. I don't think he's there yet. On the feet, I think this is a heavily favoring Dustin Poirier. He is so much better defensively, and the way BSD just kind of throws punches and then just leaves his hands nowhere, just out in the ether, is ripe to get countered. It gets interesting with the grappling. BSD is a very good grappler, but I think Poirier can compete there. I don't think BSD is the kind of dominant control grappler that Khabib was, or the immediately lethal sort of grappling threat that Charles Oliveira is. I think Poirier can compete in all phases, and I think he's very advantaged in one of them. And so as long as his chin isn't like totally cracked, as long as he still has game left to give, in a 5-round fight, as this fight wears on, I think that's just a massive edge for Poirier too. So I'm backing him. I'm taking underdogs in the big 2 fights this weekend.
Rick, are you taking the underdog as well?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. This is one of those that I need the benefit of hindsight for, because if you look at the resume, if you look at how the recent fights have been going for Dustin, this feels like one of those where you could look back and go, yeah, that the beginning of the end came, and this was just another, and the young, hungry lion came and took out the old lion, and it will not feel unexpected. Or this could be the one where, yeah, maybe it was a tough break against Justin Gaethje, got caught. He could have been stringing together 2 in a row, and he was still there, and he wasn't diminished. But just the logic, the father time being undefeated, coupled with the idea that it's been more rocky up and down for Dustin lately, makes me think that there's a real chance that it's going to be Benoit walking out with a victory. But I don't know. I truly don't know. This is one of those matchups, and I like not knowing, by the way. Like, I don't have to make a pick for one reason or another, and I don't have any betting stake on the line. So I get to enjoy what I think is a fight with a lot of intrigue and a lot of interesting facets to it, and get to find out. Gun to my head, you say you have to pick no matter what. I probably say it's Benoit's time, and maybe Dustin's time has come and gone, and this is the tail end of the career now. But I don't know. I truly don't know, because I could definitely see a performance where Dustin is just better in many areas, as Jed laid out, and he is not diminished, and getting head kicked by Justin Gaethje is not some career indictment or fall off or decline, but just a moment of getting caught, and everything returns to be right in the world for Dustin. So I could see many different outcomes for this fight, and that's why I love it so much. Gun to the head, though, I lean BSD.
Yeah, I don't really need to add on to anything you both said because I agree with both of you. I think Poirier is super live here. It wouldn't shock me if BSD won. And at the same token, I have no friggin' idea what is going to happen in this fight. Like I could try to break this thing down for you, but I got nothing. So I'm just going with the value. I do have a bet on Dustin Poirier at plus 170. Took it a couple of days ago, and that's it. It's just a value play. I think this fight should be lined a little bit closer because I do think Poirier stylistically matches up pretty decent with BSD, but BSD is just a freaking animal, and Poirier loves these fights and usually comes out on the better end of them. So let's see what happens. I can't wait for it, but I do have a bet on the dog, and may the best man win. Cannot wait for that fight. Rest of the main card, we have Michael Venom Page making his UFC debut against Kevin Holland. We have Gilbert Burns, the former title challenger, fighting the surging up-and-coming Jack Della Maddalena. And then the main card opener, what a friggin' fight this is, Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. So, New York Rick, I will ask you, of the 3 other main card fights outside of the main and co-main event, what is the main card fight that you were most intrigued by and why? Because you can make a compelling case for any of these fights.
Kevin Holland and MVP. I just want to see what MVP looks like against this level of competition. And I want to see what Kevin Holland decides to do, whether he has a silent gentleman's agreement to stand and strike like he did with Wonder Boy. And if he does, how well that goes for him. I've been wanting to see MVP in the UFC for a while, and now I'm getting it. So this will be what I'm most interested in seeing. It's high up there. I would say even more so than the main event for me. I've certainly nothing's going to top Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis, but this is next. This is next up. I'm extremely interested in this fight.
What say you, Jed? I know we talked a little bit about this on BTL, but I mean, dude, there are stakes like crazy here. MVP winning changes everything. And the amount of people that I've seen on Twitter and on social media and people like DMing me saying that Kevin Holland is just going to run MVP, kind of surprised by that, honestly. Like, yeah, I mean, I actually have a bet on MVP. I don't know how this fight's going to go, but I mean, you talked a little bit about this on No Bets Barred. Like, we've kind of seen this fight already, and it didn't go very well for Kevin Holland. And Wonder Boy was a little bit older than MVP is right now. So, where are you at with this one? And is this the fight that you're most intrigued by outside of the top 2?
No, it's not. Anyone who thinks Kevin Holland's going to run MVP, that's just like blatant Bellator hate. MVP is not the greatest welterweight in the world. He's not going to get run over by Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland can win. Not saying he can't, but this is we've watched both of these men fight. Like, this is probably going to be fairly close, and if it's not close, it's going to be not close on the other side of the card. The fight that is near and dear to my heart is the one I talked about on BTL yesterday, and I won't go into it here because no one watching this is here for the Michelle Pajeda, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk talk. You should be. You all should be. And the fact that you're not, you should all be ashamed that you don't like anarchy, because that fight is going to rock. But I think the clear, like obvious choice, it's Petr Yan, Song Yadong. Like, both from a in-cage perspective, this fight sings. And the stories are massive here because, I mean, you even have the baseline level of, Song Yadong is an alpha male guy, and Petr beat Uriah Faber and arguably his like most significant win or the most famous of his wins. And now Song gets to do that. But more importantly, Petr Yan's lost 3 in a row. He's lost 4 or 5. Like, Petr Yan is, as things currently stand, Petr has taken away the mantle for the dumbest thing done inside a cage in the history of this sport. For many years, it was Nakamura taking off the gi in the middle of a fist fight with Vanderlei, and Vanderlei punched him while he was doing it. It's the funniest thing I may have ever seen in the cage. And then there was just a period of time where it was somewhere between Chael Sonnen spinning back fist against Anderson. That was probably the dumbest thing. But also, remember that time that Chris Weidman threw a heel kick against Luke Rockhold for reasons that still only he knows. Those were all surpassed when Petr Yan threw the dumbest illegal knee of all time against Aljamain Sterling, lost his belt, and tore a hole in the universe that has now seen him fall down a rabbit hole of failure after failure after failure. If he loses to Song Yadong, his career's over. Like, I can't put it any more plainly than that. The amount of fighters who've come back from 4-fight losing streaks to challenge for a belt is zero. It's just never happened. And the amount of fighters, as far as I'm aware, who have lost 4 in a row and then come back to be like competitive top level fighters in their divisions is 1. It's Andrei Arlovsky. And that's heavyweight, which trash ass division. Like, you don't lose 4 in a row and then are just like, okay after it. It breaks the psyche or whatever. I'm unclear why, because Petr Yan still can compete. But if he loses this weekend, even if it's by like robbery split decision, it doesn't matter. The die is cast. The gods have spoken. Petr Yan is never allowed to win again. His career is on the line, and it's on the line against like a dude who that is a tough ask, because Song Yadong is young, super experienced for how young he is, getting so much better. The last few times out, he has been better every time. He is tough as nails, as the Corey Sandhagen fight showed. He can box his ass off, which is ostensibly what Petr Yan does the best. Like, this is a tough ask for a dude with his back firmly against the wall. I am fascinated to see how Petr responds. I'm fascinated to see if Song can keep leveling up, because if he does, he's not going to get a title fight right away because of his losses and sort of the state of bantamweight. But we're talking about a dude, if he wins this, he's for sure fighting for the belt at some point. It is a fascinating matchup in one of the best divisions in the sport. I think it's got to be Yan Song.
Love that fight. Love that fight. So
it's amazing.
Good. A lot of fights to love on this card. It's just really, really
Especially
good. Jelson Almeida, Curtis Blades, so good.
I said this about Petr Yan the last night, like when he fought Sean O'Malley, and I was like, if you want to fight Petr Yan, you want to fight him in a 3-round fight, because in a 5-round fight, he's almost unbeatable because he makes so many good adjustments, and he's a bit of a slow starter, but he builds after he makes reads. That was apparently wrong because Merab Dvalishvili is insane. And so you cannot beat Merab in a 5-round fight. It's physically impossible. So, but excluding that, like, still, if this was a 5-round fight, Petr Yan's probably beating Song Yadong. With 3 rounds, he's probably going to lose the first, because he usually loses the first. And then Song's just got to win 3 more minutes to win this fight. Like, that is super risky for Yan.
But it's the fight he kind of has to take right now. And I can't wait for it. It's just such a good card. We'll bring Casey in. Yeah. Let's bring Casey in.
This over Umar, I guess. But jeez, man.
Yeah. Real quick, CJ Vergara, if you were watching the weigh-in stream earlier, I know we touched on this at the beginning. He missed weight at 127, had an extra hour to cut, stepped back on the scale, and he was still 127. The fight with Asu Almabayev will go on as scheduled. CJ Vergara, after another weight miss, fined 30% of his purse. So that fight will go on. So Casey is here. What are the peeps talking about? What are they saying? What's the vibes
cold in
like?
California? Not just sleeves, but a hoodie. Like, whew.
Well, yeah, it's a chilly 55 degrees right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's warmer here.
Yeah, and it was colder earlier. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. So, yeah. It was chilly, but we're good. We're good. All right. We got some super chats. Let's go. Our first super chat, that's actually about the card.
Thank you, Verity. If O'Malley fails to impress this weekend, can he still call for Topuria, or can they please feed him to Merab?
Fails to impress. What does that mean?
I mean, he can.
Where are we at here?
Yeah, like he can call for Topuria. I don't think that will happen. I don't think that that's in the cards right now. It seems like there's a lot to play out at bantamweight and a lot to play out at featherweight, that there's probably no chance those two intersect for quite a bit. And I mean, if he fails to impress, then he's got other things to worry about. Like if he just wins a lackluster performance against Chito Vera, like that's not going to look great when you're heading into a potential fight with Merab Dvalishvili. So, I don't think this is even necessarily on the table. But I do think it would be good if he does win, to keep that out there, to keep the iron in the fire and just continue to stoke the flames of the potential super fight with Ilya, because it seems like Ilya is finally starting to warm up to the idea as well, starting to mention Sean O'Malley, which he hadn't done previously. So, yeah, I think he should say his name as many times as he possibly can, but I just don't think this was really something that was going to happen. Definitely not next, and certainly not for a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's not happening.
Jed?
If he knocks out Chito with like a flying switch kick, maybe. And if he does that, I will still hate it, but I'll keep my griping to a minimum because that would just be sick. But no, like we talked about this before, Mike. How many times does Dana White make fights on fight night? He never does. Famously never makes fights on fight night. He's morally opposed to it. And even he came out and was like, Merab's got the next title fight. Merab got to weigh in as the backup fighter. As we know, backup fighter always gets to compete. I mean, there's just a lot of history pointing to Merab getting the next title shot here. And he's over with the fans. So, yeah.
He is. He is over with the fans. But if Sean does knock out Marlon Vera in the first round and calls for it, the UFC is going to entertain that. There's just no doubt about it, especially if they go to Spain and do it. Like, that fight's friggin' huge.
It would be so awful
I hate
because
it.
they're not going to go to
I
Spain
know.
for like 8 months. So then the 2 of the 4 best divisions in the sport are just on ice. It's just trash.
But the
Please
UFC is
don't.
all about
Chito,
making
save us.
money. Is Poirier and O'Malley the biggest money maker for Poirier?
Probably.
Yeah,
If he
probably.
knocks out
But
Marlon Vera, certainly.
But there's a thought. I think people confuse the idea of like, yeah, it's a big money fight, but like sometimes big money fights, when they simmer for longer, become bigger money fights, and you don't need to do this right now. You don't
They
need to
always
do this
become
right
bigger
away.
fights.
Yeah, so you can
It's
wait
just
on
a
this.
question of whether you get them.
This is no rush. Now, if you're the UFC and you're looking at the deck and going, man, we don't know if Sean O'Malley is going to come out of this fight with Merab Dvalishvili, then maybe, yeah, like maybe there's a world where you think about some way to capitalize on this before that happens, because I think many are in the camp of thinking that we're just waiting, we're just biding time until it's Merab's turn. But Chito could upset all of that Saturday anyway. So I think there's still many steps before we get to here. I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think it's likely. And I think it would be a bigger fight down the line anyway, when Ilya has gotten more notoriety post Spain, post a potential huge fight against, let's say, Holloway, Volkanovski, even Ortega. He could be even bigger. So I think they'd wait on it anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. But what is failing to impress? What's a way O'Malley wins, but everyone goes, whatever.
48-47 decision. It will impress
Were you-
the hell out of me if he, like I talked about it, but
So
the way he has hyped this, the fact that he is a big favorite and that a lot of his fans think that this is going to be easy, despite the fact that Sean himself has been like, Chito is not easy. Please stop thinking that. If he wins a competitive decision, which I think is very possible, then that will be failing to impress, right?
that's interesting. I just find that
Betting-
interesting.
If the fight's not fun. If the fight's
I
not
think-
fun.
Betting
Yeah, if
lines
he
are
wins
not
a fight of the year.
betting lines are not a reflection of like what people who analyze the sport of MMA think is going to happen in a fight. A lot of times people think like, oh, they think Chito Vera has no chance. Betting lines are a reflection of what the public at large thinks is going to happen in a fight. And the public at large seems to think that Sean O'Malley is going to steamroll Chito Vera. That's what the odds would reflect. So yeah, I think Jed is absolutely correct. If he comes in there and has a squeaky close fight, a squeaker of a decision, then the betting public will be shocked because they are expecting Sean O'Malley to roll. So yeah, that would be disappointing, I think, to many people out there.
But if it's a close
It's
fight,
all about
but
expectation
a close boring
management.
fight, but a close boring fight or a close exciting fight.
If it's close, exciting, it'll be better, but it's still close. And yeah, like he needs to win dominantly to impress. Anything else will be fine and it'll be a win, but it's all about expectation management. And he has tried to manage them better, but it's the nature of picking the number 8 dude or whatever Chito is ranked to be your first title defense. It's tough.
All right. Let's go the other way for another super chat.
Thank you, Peter. If Sean O'Malley loses, who will he fight next?
I haven't thought about this question once. Despite the fact that I do believe he is going to lose, I have not at all been like, where does he go after he loses here? So Corey Sandhagen's probably going to fight Umar. That seems like the wind is blowing in that direction.
If I'm Corey, I call for Sean. If he loses, though, I would get off that Umar train immediately and call for O'Malley.
Yeah, that's true. But do you think O'Malley wants to fight Corey? Because O'Malley kind of gets to make that choice, I would say.
So who's he choosing?
I think there's a really good shot it's Henry Cejudo. I believe Henry should fight Brandon Moreno. I know Henry's called it for it. I think that fight makes a ton of sense at this point. I also think that dynamic changes abruptly if Sean loses and he's not getting an immediate rematch because it's a close fight or whatever, which I think is absolutely in play, that Chito wins and they just run it back. But Henry Cejudo is like the biggest name that I think Sean would be appealing. Like he would want to fight that fight.
I'd say Corey.
I am going to say Dominic Cruz.
I thought it for a second, and I didn't want to put that out in the ether. Because, I mean, yeah, but it's a former champion.
But Sean wouldn't present it in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he will say,
I'm fighting the greatest bantamweight in UFC history.
Yep. Correct. That's how we would present it. I already knocked out Aljo, who some people thought was the greatest bantamweight of all time. Now I'm going to take out the other guy everyone thought was the greatest bantamweight of all time. And then he'll go call TJ Dillashaw out for his return fight, and he'll knock all three of them down, or at least try to.
Those type of fights make sense when you're rising. I don't think they make sense when you're coming off being the champion and then jumping to the back of the line to fight somebody who's clearly not even in the rankings or a contender. Like that doesn't feel like the right next step.
I don't think it's the back of the line to the casual fan, though. I don't think it's the back
of
the line.
It's not the casual fan.
Yeah, but that's
it's not. I think that's a great fight for O'Malley. I was thinking Dominic Cruz.
It could happen. Here's actually what will happen. Shout out to Paul Eggers in the comments. He is the genius among us all. There's a little fight coming up at UFC 300, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you know about it. A man called Figgy Smalls, former flyweight champion, is about to blow the doors off Cody Garbrandt. And when he does, that is the call out. Sean will be 8 feet taller than Figgy and should win that fight, but that would make that's actually Paul Eggers nailed it, and I'm into it, super into it.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
And if not, if somehow if Cody Garbrandt pulls a miracle out of his ass and wins, he will not. Then Cody, and that there's already a little bit of heat there. That fight makes a ton of sense. Paul Eggers is on it. Well done, sir.
Sean versus the winner of Cody versus Figgy. If Sean loses.
Correct.
All right, I like it. Couple off-topic super chats.
If Sean's smart and he wins, he might try and call for that winner anyway.
Hey, Sean O'Malley.
Not interested in Merab.
He is an excellent prize fighter, so who knows? Who knows? All right, a couple of super chats real quick. A little off-topic, but people want to hear it.
It's boxing. Canelo taking, Mengu over Benavidez. Yeah.
I've been saying it much this week. Like I have issues with boxing. My issues with boxing are not fights like this. Like we'd be better. But to Rick's point earlier, it's okay to let fights simmer. It builds interest. And this is not a fight where Canelo will lose and then the Benavidez fight is like in danger or whatever. And so it's just giving us more time for this to be there, to be more buildup, because like there are boxing heads are into this fight right now. There's not like a broad casual pull for this. Just give it a little more time, build a little more. I'm okay with it, even if maybe it's not like perfect.
And there are also reports that he's laid out a plan with PBC that Benavidez would be one of the fights in the next couple of fights. Like this is just how boxing is. Like this is perfectly fine. And like
Canelo knows what he's doing, man.
It's also very wild to me. Like all of a sudden we're seeing like Canelo's ducking people as if the guy who has tried to get the toughest possible fights and fight everybody would ever just like quote unquote duck somebody. It's mind blowing how quickly that turned. But no, this will be a bigger fight down the line. and he will eventually fight Benavidez. It'll be fine. But this is just how boxing goes.
Canelo has proven extremely adept at maximizing all of his fights over his career. The fights are always as big as possible because he knows exactly what he's doing. This is in service of that, I'm convinced.
Yeah, Canelo's doing fine. He knows what he's doing. This is Super Chat in reference, I think, to our conversation on yesterday's preview show for the little boxing event.
Oh, definitely.
Helena by MCR is the go-to karaoke song.
I mean, it's a solid karaoke song.
It is a solid song because you don't have to have a great voice. You just have to have you just have to have energy.
Yeah.
That's it. So yeah,
it's a good karaoke song.
Thank you. Man.
So I actually, oddly enough, coincidentally enough, I sang karaoke last night here in New York City. I went to a place to grab some food, and they were doing karaoke. And it happened.
Private room or kind of open in the public?
Open.
What'd you go with?
I sang Bobby Brown's "My Prerogative" and brought the freaking house down.
I swear, when you started, I thought you were going to say, coincidentally enough, on the watch party today, because we're going to have a ton of time to kill while we wait for fighters to make the walk. We bought a karaoke machine, and I was like, this is the best investment you've ever made, Mike.
That would be pretty awesome.
I mean, you just use it every watch party. It'd be terrific.
Dude, not only did me and Esther buy a karaoke machine, we also bought a YouTube premium account so we can just do our YouTube karaoke songs. Don't have to watch any commercials. We just go bam, bam. We have a karaoke playlist. It's very Asian up in this house. I love it.
Outstanding.
All right. Okay, we got some more questions. We didn't even talk about this fight. Let's get into it.
We'll take a couple more because we got some stuff to do, but we'll do this for sure. Jailton Almeida was created in a lab. Do you think he has a strong chance against Tom Aspinall? Well, first of all, he's got to beat Curtis Blades first, and that's going to be tough because this is the test. This is the test to see if Jailton Almeida can fight for a heavy title. If he beats Curtis Blades, I think a lot of people are going to be picking him to be the champion. But let's just say he runs through Curtis Blades, New York, Rick. Do you think would you pick him to beat Tom Aspinall? No?
Nope.
No matter how he defeats Blades?
Real quick. Nope. Oh, okay. Not no matter how he beats Blades. If he comes out and looks like K1 Jailton Almeida and his striking has actually improved tenfold, then maybe I'd reconsider. Absolutely not. Not in any world. Never. No. Tom would absolutely dust him. Bad.
Dustin, not even competitive. So Tom Aspinall is just
not competitive.
Wow.
Tom would.
Wow. Okay.
Tom would make the quickest possible work of him.
Let me just say this: when Jed Meshew looks like he's posing for his senior photos with like 8 different poses, with the thinking man, this scratching of the head, all the different things, that means something's coming. So Jed, your answer to this question.
I agree, but Rick made me think that, okay, K1 Jailton also shouts to K1 because that's how you know Rick's an old head in the game because it's not Glory, it's K1. Yes. So shouts to that. If you could fuse Alex Pereira and Jailton Almeida into one individual, that dude versus Tom Aspinall would be a sick-ass fight. That dude also might be like the greatest MMA fighter of all time, but that would be a sick-ass fight. And we need to find a way. Let's get to work on that technology because Jailton Almeida will get absolutely run over by Tom Aspinall. And Alex Pereira, I assume, will also get run over, but like Francis Ngannou, he walks in the light, so maybe God will smile on him and he'll knock him out. But barring that, both of them would get run over. But together, not 2-on-1, just merged into one entity, would be the best damn heavyweight fight. So let's figure out how to make that happen.
I was right. I knew it.
That was all
great
Rick,
idea was coming.
Just making me think about it. I was like, K1
K1,
what's that look like?
Jailton Almeida.
Because I was like, K1 is like, man, Rick's old doing K1. That's some shit I say, not Glory. Oh, Glory, Alex Pereira. Oh, and then we're down that rabbit hole.
Seeing how the sausage is made.
Yes. That's how my brain connects shit.
Dude, K1 Max made me a fan of people punching each other. It was K1 Max. that just
K1, the entirety of K1 was awesome.
Yeah.
it was unreal. Okay, and 2 more comments before we bounce.
All right. Is Mike Heck doing any non-MMA related activities in city this weekend? No. I did do the CrossFit 24.2 workout this morning, so that'd probably be it. I did sing karaoke last night, and that's
we just.
I mean, I think I checked off all the boxes.
You're also
last
hosting a
10
boxing
hours.
watch party later, which is non-MMA as well.
That is
Just
a
for
great
the-
point. That is a great point.
initiative.
Yes.
And
Watch
that-
party, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Join us.
And that leads to our final comment.
Took a sick day to watch Ngannou Joshua. Let's go, Francis. Yes. Love it.
Respect.
Respect to you.
Also,
Normally, I would
respect
always
to Joseph
take
Bosa. Just respect to Joey Bosa, who has put in here a question that is Macy Barber screwed if she wins because Alexa and Valentina are fighting on Tough. And I got to tell you, if you think Macy Barber is anywhere close to the title fight when Aaron Blanchfield exists, you are incorrect, sir.
Well, they're going to do Blanchfield versus Barber while they're waiting for Tough to finish, which is an absolute disaster that thing still
Blanchfield's going to
exists.
get the belt and have no one to fight because she's going to beat the shit out of everybody in the weight class because it took them forever to get off their ass and give her the title shot.
Yeah.
Rough.
Such a waste. Honestly, Blanchfield.
Macy Barber needs to be the biggest Rose Namajunas fan on planet Earth. She needs to hope that Rose puts on a performance against Amanda Ribas, and maybe they give Macy that fight next. Like, that's the best thing she can hope for.
Do Macy versus Juliana Pena. That's the fight we all want. Why are we avoiding the
I'm
money
going
fight?
the other way, Rick. I think the answer is Erin needs to just be mad, and I've hated this for her, but just be like, you guys are really just screwing me right now. I will go beat Rocky Pennington or whoever the hell has that belt with ease and just do that because I can at least get a title shot here because for whatever reason, you're dragging this fucking flyweight situation out. There's no reason Grasso and Shevchenko didn't headline Mexico City. There's no reason at all.
Maybe they weren't ready, Jed. Maybe they weren't ready.
They were saving them for Tough. The highly anticipated return of Tough that everybody will tune in for. That couldn't draw viewers even with Conor McGregor.
You think we're going to do a tough hang for Grasso Shevchenko? Tough 32? Is that in the?
It will be a tough. It will
us,
definitely be a tough hang. Whether the show Tough Hang will return, TBD. But it will definitely be a tough hang.
Won't be a tough hang. Just won't watch it at all. It'd be great. That's been my policy towards Tough for the last 10 years.
That's why you asked that question.
I don't watch
it. Touche.
That's why you asked, because if you got the hot tag to come in and co-host Tough Hang one episode, you're actually gonna have to watch it. So
legitimately that's the only Tough episode I've watched of the last season 20 was the strawweight Crown of Champions strawweight season. That was the last season I watched. So of the last 12 seasons, I watched the one I hot tagged in on Tough Hang.
You know how you said like K1 is like a dated old reference and it shows you're an old head? It's time. Tough needs to be only a reference at this point. There should not be any more Tough. We are done. This can only be reference for somebody.
Like Tough is like you talk about Tough like the same way you talk about the Tap Out reality show. You know, that just meant you were an old head. That's all.
Yes.
Except for the Tap Out reality show, at least wasn't actively holding back divisional progress. Like it's fine to do it with Connor and Chandler because Chandler is hoping for something that will never happen, and Connor's never going to fight, so it's okay. Yeah, but that's a fine Tough to do because it's not holding anything up. Sitting on the flyweight belt when there is a clear champion in waiting for an extra 8 months is it's infuriating.
You guys love the UFC, man. They're so good at this. It's amazing.
It's just it's just the Khabib situation. Everyone with eyeballs was aware that Khabib was the best lightweight for like 4 full years before he got a title shot. Some of that was he had a year-long injury, but the rest of it was like, well, Connor's doing dumb shit, and so whatever. Like, just put the belt on the best dude and let him rock. Like, just let's do that.
Wow. Jed wants to erase the Conor McGregor rise. Interesting. Just wants to wipe it off the face of the map. Just make it the Habib title reign. Fast forward.
I mean,
fair enough.
Habib was very clearly the best lightweight on earth for at least 4 years prior to getting the belt.
Oh no, I saw that Gleason Tebow fight, bro. He lost.
Yeah, he did lose.
Yeah.
I saw.
After the
Michael
Gleason
Johnson
Tebow
also
fight,
too.
after
Michael
that
Johnson
fight, he
wobbled
put up
him.
37 takedowns RDA, who then became champion like a 2 fights later or some shit.
He's a lightweight. We've seen him miss weight on camera. We've seen him miss weight on camera. So let's not pretend that towel didn't help. There's a lot of things I could point to poke holes in that one. I mean, come on, everybody knows.
Yeah.
And everybody also knows.
Greatest fighter I've ever seen in my life.
Well, everybody also knows that. What do we got? Do we have something else?
Real
Late super chat.
Real quick. Late super chat.
I mean, I would have bet RSD 250 that it was going to be Matija coming in last second.
What is RSD?
If victorious.
What is RSD?
I don't know. That's a great question.
What currency are we dealing in? Anyway,
I want to say that's South African, but give me a second.
Mike, you go.
Serbian
victorious,
dinar.
Who should BSD fight next after Dustin? And it's pronounced Matija, not Matija. Or Matija. My apologies. Thank you for doing that, by the way. So if BSD beats Dustin Poirier, it's actually really tough to answer this question, but
it's super easy.
If you,
it's the easiest answer possible. It's Islam Makhachev.
Oh
yeah,
it's Islam.
Agreed.
It's Islam because the other lightweights have 300 is a month closer to June when Islam will defend. BSD, if he wins, probably at least comes out clean enough to make that turnaround. And even if not, he would just accept it as long as he doesn't have didn't blow his knee out. And he'll never be hotter than at this moment in time. So yeah, other people deserve it more, particularly Gaethje wins. But I just think there's a 0% chance Gaethje fights Max Holloway and can turn around 7 weeks later to fight Islam.
If there's no harm. Goes and just obliterates Charles Oliveira, it's still this easy of an answer?
Yeah, I still think so.
I also think it's
just hotter here. It's just too fast of a turnaround to build that. You can start the build in this tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just pencil him in for it. You pencil him in that he's the next guy, and then if circumstances change, if Gaethje comes out, starches Max Holloway is clean, great. You switch plans and you go to Gaethje. But in the interim, until something else happens, yeah, he's next. You make him next, 100%.
Or the man we haven't talked about, Mateusz Gamrot, also puts 30 takedowns on RDA this weekend, and former backup fighter finally gets his day in court. And gets to fight Islam Makhachev. That's what should happen. That's the world I want to live in.
Absolutely
not. That fight be fun as hell.
Absolutely not.
I don't know where the Mateusz Gamrot hate comes from, but
yeah,
I want him to get his day.
And,
Islam would kill him. It'd be incredible. It'd be so much fun.
And someone wanted to do a $4.99 super chat just to insult Jed. So yeah, here it goes.
Jeremy, Jed's face looks like AI. I'm convinced he's not really a person. Or not a real person.
Tech's real good. I don't even think this is insult, but
is it? Maybe it's a compliment.
I don't know. It sounds
I feel
more like
AI
a
makes things. Yeah, I feel like AI makes things unnaturally pretty, and I would not qualify myself that way. So I'm going to take it as a compliment. That's what we're going to do.
How many fingers do you? Can do you actually have?
No. If I showed that, then
it'll give it away.
The game would be up.
We're not ready yet.
Know.
Well,
we're done.
Hit the AI music, Casey. We are out of here.
Jeez, you're going to cover this boxing stuff.
Yes, we got boxing. We have lots going on. Stick with us at MMAfighting.com. If you're into the boxing, the Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou fight, we get coverage all day, all evening long at MMAfighting.com. We will have a post-fight show. We, of course, have the watch party at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, but we still have UFC 299 festivities going on today as well. Ceremonial weigh-ins. There's a UFC 300 Q&A, including Kayla Harrison's first UFC media. So stay tuned for that on MMA Fighting. And then tomorrow's just going to be insanity. We got the People's Free Fight Show. We got another watch party. Jose, boots on the ground, interviews, all that stuff. And then on Sunday, on to the next one. Jed will be joining us on Sunday.
I forgot I'm doing that. God damn it.
Hey, I gave you.
Thanks for the reminder.
Take it.
I know. I just forgot. You know, it's also daylight savings time. We're losing
I
an
know,
hour.
dude.
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
it is daylight
Yeah, we're
savings.
losing
It
an
sure
hour.
is.
We're gonna do the preview or the post show. It's gonna be like 6 a.m.
Oh,
Yep.
we
Well.
did this like a year ago. Jeez.
Enjoy, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Buckle up. We'll see you later on.
Love y'all.